Okay. So, tensile structures. How do you define a tensile structure, and what are the key things that you keep in mind, and how are they different from what you have done till date? Um, so, how are tensile structures different from your regular framed or load-bearing structures? Do you think there is a different way in which they have to be imagined or visualized, which is different from the regular structures? I'm talking from structural point of view, not the visual uh, aesthetics manifestation part of it.
It majorly undergoes tension. Majorly part of it undergoes tension and less of
Yeah.
compression.
So,
No of compression.
yeah, but many of the suspended structures in terms of steel or hangers in tall structures also are majorly into tension. Tension is a very important aspect of it, but in terms of architectural imagination, I'm talking about the forces. Do you think of the natural forces affecting a regular structure and a tensile structure? Do you imagine them to be similar, or do you imagine them to be different?
I think the bending moment diagrams of both the structures are very different. Uh, and I think someone in that sense.
Maybe in a tensile structure, if due to like an earthquake or something, it would sway or sort of not like try to resist the forces but go along with it. While if it was a normal structure, it would like break or I mean get destructed by the forces.
That is true, but in normal times, without the earthquake, what happens?
All the members in it are in tension itself. So the only force deriving there is tension.
Hmm. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to first look at the comparison between a tent, a Bedouin tent, and a hut, a mud hut. Okay, what is the difference between the structural behavior of these two?
Can you repeat the question?
When I put in front of you two images of a tent, okay, regular tent, a Bedouin tent, or a trekker's tent, okay, and mud structure, or the solidly constructed mud or masonry structure. Structurally, how do you think these two will fail? If something happens and both these structures have to fail, what would you think that these structures would fail? What is the difference in the failure of these two structures?
So like in hut, it could be cracks or like developing of cracks, and in like in a tent, it could be like shear or like tearing force kind of.
That is vandalism. I'm talking about if the suppose there is a a strong wind. Okay, what would happen to the mud structure and what would happen to the tent?
The tent would sway, right?
Okay, and if there is a storm?
The tent, it would sway, and if the winds are strong enough, it could even like fly away or thing like that. But
It
with
will
the
get
mud
uprooted.
structure,
It will get
yeah,
uprooted, right?
yeah, it will get uprooted, yeah. But
And the
with the
mud
mud structure, that being a solid one and with a proper connection to the ground, it would, I think it could take the storm. I mean,
the storm. And in the event that there are vibrations or tremors and all, so we constantly worry about the frame structure or masonry structures for its collapses. Whereas in tent structures, the worry is not so much about the collapse; it is more about the uprooting, okay, or flying off. So the forces, the gravitational forces, which are so much of a concern in load bearing of frame structures, is not. It is there. The concern is there, but it is not as the wind and the uprooting, the upthrust is more of a problem or a concern in the tensile structures. Okay, so basically, when we try to visualize these two structures, one set, both the frame and masonry structures have to imagine as having their own self weight to support itself, whereas these lightweight tensile structures, they do not have their self weight, and that becomes a counter problem. That becomes the another spectrum of the problem, where you have to worry about adding the anchorage enough so that they don't fly off because they don't have any self weight to support itself, right? So with that, what is the definition of tensile structure? How do you define it? A structure in which every part of the structure that forms enclosure, roof, is loaded only in tension with no requirement to resist compression or bending forces. Okay. See, compression and other forces immediately means there is some mass to it, and since there is some mass to it, they will have some weight, and they will have certain kind of self weight to it or self load to it. But as soon as we talk about a pure tension element, we are eliminating the mass and we are trying to eliminate correspondingly the weight and the density is also eliminated, and that leads us to another set of challenges of upthrust or flying off. Yeah. So these are ideal when designer wishes to use minimum amount of material for functional or aesthetic reasons. Follow. So basically, what I'm urging at in this slide itself to start conceptualizing or visualizing a tensile structure more from its the challenges that wind is going to bring in, the challenges that the lateral sways are going to bring in, the challenges that if you don't include the tension, then in which direction the collapse will happen. So those kind of challenges, or if one cord gets broken, how does the entire structure get affected? So those kind of challenges become more kind of thing. So it is not something which gravity is coming to your help in your load bearing or frame structure. Gravity is there, so as long as you are answering the gravity, your building is remaining stable. Whereas in tensile structure, the forces, since they are evenly balanced in all the direction, the vector diagrams are balanced in all the direction, one disconnection or one vector diagram which gets disconnected, your entire building gets affected. Yeah. So with that, we look at what are the categories of tensile structures. One is membrane structures and second is cable net structures. Now, whatever I spoke just now, they are largely related to membrane structures, whereas cable net structures, they are in tension, but they, as you will see, that there is a mass, there is a weight because there is glass, acrylic, and other elements which come into picture. Like for example, cable stayed bridges, they have their own weight also, right? But the first category, membrane structure, they are thin, flexible surface structures that carries loads primarily through the development of tension stresses and acting simultaneously as structure and weather shield. So there are two types. One is tent structure and the other one is pneumatic structure, right? Whereas cable net structure, They are conceptually similar where the tensions are, except that the surfaces are made from cable net meshes and carries non-structural layer of weather shielding elements such as acrylic, glass, sheets, or wooden shingles, etc. So these are some of the examples of membrane structures. These are tents. This is Hutch, and you can see the kind of inverted. There are masts which are cables. The central ring is lifted up. The bottom periphery is kept anchored to the lower portion of the mast, and that's how these uh, these structures are kept in tension. You also have inverted umbrellas. Okay, again in Hutch, which are you can these are collapsible also, so that it opens out. Or you have cable net structures where you can see that it is robust. It doesn't have the the lightweightness of the earlier structures. They are robust structures. They are glass, but just to achieve a certain form, it is found to be much more useful to go for a cable net structures. Yeah. So what are the characteristics of membrane structures? They are stretched surface. Their stretched surfaces tend to adapt their shapes to the way they are loaded. Membrane surfaces needs to stabilize to maintain their shape under a variety of loading conditions. They are pre-stress. The surfaces are pre-stress, which is a most common stabilization technique. An application of external forces to pull the surface taut. There is that is the tent structure, and whereas the pneumatic structure, there is internal pressurization of volume enclosing membrane. So the diagrams show that. So first diagram is for the tent structures, where the forces are in two separate kind of directions, and also in the separate curvatures. One is oriented, the curvature is oriented downwards to the ground, whereas the other one, with the use of mast, the curvature is picked up. Whereas in the pneumatic structures, there is the entire periphery is pulled down and there is air pressure, volume air pressure created inside, which will keep the surface taut. So in pneumatic structures, you have air supported structures and air inflated structures. Now, air supported structures, they have one single volume, but the entire single volume is pressurized. So the doors will have airlocks, the entrances will have airlocks. It will be completely conditioned air. Okay, all the mechanical ventilation and all will be, and also it will at the same time it will be under pressure. Yeah. So Millennium Dome is also one of the examples of that. Whereas air inflated structures, the cavity between the two walls, the inside and wall and outside wall, that is filled with air. So you have your, the pillows, air pillows. Those are examples of air inflated structures. So these structures can also be used to build large volumes or large enclosures. So you have two examples. The first one is air supported. The second one is air inflated. Where the first air supported one, the entire volume inside is under pressure. You can see that even the entrance is completely sealed off. There are airlocks in the middle of it. The ventilation, even the openings, they have locks, so there is no exchange of air directly between the outside and inside. Whereas in air inflated structures, you have skin which has air in it. So that helps us understand these membrane structures, cable net structures, tent structures, pneumatic structures. Now we come to what is the design process. Okay. Simply put, this has been, you have to arrive at a suitable form. Then you decide on a workable pre-stressing method. Then testing the proposed structure for stability under all loading conditions. Dimensioning the parts, which is fabrics and cables for manufacturer. And finalizing choice of materials and finishes. Okay. But it's all these 5 processes, they need not be linear. Okay, you can start, for example, you can start deciding the workable pre-stressing method before even you arrive at a suitable form. Or you choose your materials and finishes, and accordingly you start doing the rest of the parts. Or you decide what is the manufacturing capacity of your fabricator or cutting space and all, and then you work within the dimensions of the parts. Okay, so these five broad stages, they are not linear, they all influence each other. So the first thing is about deciding the surface geometry. Whatever geometry you choose, you have to combine various curvatures and pre-stresses. Okay, you have to deliberately induce curvatures which enables transmission of lateral loads. Okay, and you have to, the pre-stressing ensures that the fabric remains in tension and hence stable under variety of non-uniform loads such as wind buffeting or uplift. Usually half a ton per meter width of the fabric is considered for the uplift alone. Okay. So you can imagine the kind of wind stresses that these structures are designed for. Okay. So they are no longer your, the rudimentary fabric cloth kind of Bedouin tents. When you are looking at these structures, we feel that they are temporary structures, but with the kind of advances and with the kind of the science which goes into it, or the thoroughness of the, because many of these structures, they have life expectancy of 25, 30 years also. Okay, so when those are the conditions which govern the design, then the amount of investigation or the amount of thoroughness that you need to have in the choice of materials, the technologies that you're using, the stresses which are these structures are going to come there to encounter, that requires that much amount of deliberation and a rigorous addressing. Yeah. So these diagrams below give, they are simple your school standard vector diagrams, but if you look at these more closely, if one of the 3 points, that is from P, point P is being pulled in all three directions. But if there is the weight, if the upward arrow is slightly broken or it is disconnected, then immediately there is a instability in the other direction, right? So the entire structure or the post will collapse on the other side. Or if there is point, if the structure is pulled in the direction of the two vectors itself, it is unstable, but if it is pulled in the other direction, it will become stable. Or conversely, instead of one single point, if both the vectors are pulled in the other direction and there are two outer points of anchorages, then again you will achieve a stability. So it is all a play of how you balance your vectors. Okay. It's actually, once you look at it this way, it becomes very simple to understand tensile structures. Okay, when you look at it from the vector, and when you start looking at the different vectors in which your forces are going to come up, then you immediately start understanding the various kind of possibilities of tensile structures and its failure. Okay. So to decide on the surface geometry, you have the left diagram, which shows how a stress membrane is stable against forces in all directions. Okay, so it's a square in plan, but the way the 4 points or vertices are supported, it gives you an enclosure beneath the roof, and and it also gives a stable form. So all it requires is the two diagonal points C and D to be lifted up and two diagonal points P and A to be on the lower side. The right diagram shows there are the surfaces. So there are synclastic surfaces and anticlastic surfaces, right? So in synclastic surfaces, you have both the curvatures in the same direction. Okay, they are not opposing each other, they are in the similar direction, whereas in anticlastic surface, the one direction is opposite the other, giving you a saddle kind of a shape, right? So a dome, for example, a donut, you have both the anticlastic as well as synclastic surfaces, whereas a dome has largely synclastic surfaces alone, right? They are all in the same direction. So is this, I'll take a pause over here, but is this idea clear? The synclastic, anticlastic surfaces, anybody has any doubt over here? Let's pause over here and just sort that out for once. All clear?
Yeah, it's clear.
Okay. So yeah. So then we move on to what are the common forms? Okay. So there are two families of pure anticlastic surfaces, which are hyperbolic paraboloids and double ring cones. Okay. Now, all other forms can be modified by introducing peaks, humps, ridges. Okay, but primarily these are the two predominant typologies, hyperbolic paraboloids and double ring cones. Okay, and they are self-explanatory. I'll just pause a moment, but if it is understood, we'll move on to the other form. Okay. So in hyperbolic paraboloids as well as double ring cones, both are anticlastic surfaces, if you realize, right? Yeah. Now the modified forms, you have uh, the peaks can be multiple. So it is the same hyperbolic paraboloid, which by just introduction of peak, ridges, you are able to increase and change the shape and the volume. So all your tensile structures essentially is a combination of these anticlastic surfaces coming. Okay. And in pneumatic structures, of course, you have synclastic surfaces alone. But otherwise, if it is a pure tensile structures in just the stretch fabric and cables and all, you will mostly use anticlastic surfaces either as a single or as a combination of different other elements, right? So on the bottom you have these humps, which is created by introduction of discs, or on the right side you have a ridges which introduce these lines. But between the lines you have again anticlastic surfaces. You have hyperbolic paraboloids, right? Then once this geometry is understood, the forms and what are the combinations now, then you work around what are the how do you find what are the form finding methods. Okay, of course there are digital tools, there are standard kind of many of the it allows you to fabricate or give your own. There are parametric design tools like Rhino and all. But in all these tools, there is a certain kind of inputs which are required to really test whether this structure will shape. Because in parametric design, you can create any shape. It's not necessary that it has to be stable, structurally stable or not. Okay, only when you test it for its structural stability, you realize that whether it is standing in place, whether what are the collapses and all that. So one of the earliest methods which were used to design these tensile structures was the use of two things. One is the soap pills, which were formed within a wireframe, giving representing any desired set of boundaries. And the second one was using a nylon stocking material. Okay, so these are uh, recurrently used. Everybody uses them to physically model your tensile structures. Okay, once you model them, whether it is soap bubble and all, lot of photo documentation, the photographs that are taken and then they are measured and analyzed, and then scaled up models or scaled up versions are developed out of those geometries. So the geometry itself is not something which happens on the paper alone. Once your initial sketches are done, these forms are evolved through these various modeling kind of exercises. Once these models are, you analyze and understand the models in physicality, then you try to scale up and work out the details and the materials and all. Yeah. So the next stage, once you develop these physical models and photograph, analyze it and all, then next stage is of computation. So computation helps you understand the dense. So either it is force density method or dynamic relaxation methods. These are structural engineers terms for use of computation methods, as well as fine tuning the form and finding the form also. So the computer finds a form that a pure membrane would assume if stretched between the proposed boundaries with uniform tension in all directions. Okay, so these are the new advanced tools that I think even Rhino has some ability of doing that. Later properties such as physical characteristics of proposed membrane, support conditions, positions, edge sag are altered to get the desired geometry. Yeah. So all these are done easily on 3D tools, ArchiCAD, Rhino, any of the tools are able to give you that. But there are special softwares which actually break it down and help you in developing. They are dedicated to tensile structures alone. Yeah, we'll talk about that a little later. So in the computation, does anybody need elaboration of this? Because you must have experimented with the tools also, and you would have achieved this. Okay. So once that computation is done, then you start investigating about what is the material that you require and what are the materials for membrane structures. They are divided into three broad categories: woven fabrics, films, and reinforced films. Okay. So woven fabrics, they are the nearest to the older versions of tensile structures, which tensile structures are not recent invention. They are ever since your caravans have been moving, the nomadic tribes have been moving from one place to the other. So all your fabric tents or Bedouins, and they have always used fabric structures or tensile structures, right? So the woven fabrics is closest to what was the earlier version of tents. Okay, only thing is the material has changed. They have become more water repellent, lighter, more long lasting. The ability to resist weather has become more robust. So, and they are industrially produced also. They can be fast produced. So the commonly used material, they have PVC coated polyester. They are anisotropic behavior. They are Teflon coated fibers. So these are all the options that you have in woven fabric. So Teflon coated glass fiber or silicon coated glass fiber. In films, you have either homogeneous sheets of plastic or rubber. So you can imagine a woven cloth versus a plastic sheet and rubber sheet, right? So a woven cloth, you can understand the weave, and there is a porosity, there is a perforation between them. Whereas a plastic and rubber, it is a continuous membrane, there is no weave pattern. So they act as films. Okay. Uh, they are highly flexible and isotropic. Uh, that means they can be stretched in direction. They are weaker, less durable, and less tear resistant. Okay. Now the advantage of films is they are highly flexible, but they are also impermeable. Okay. Whereas in woven fabric, they are stiff, but they are permeable. Okay. So the third option combines the two. It combines the woven fabric and the films. Okay. It is a composite of fabric and film. So if you would have seen in the monsoons also, you have this the black plastic, which is a film, but the blue plastic, which has these fibers going through it, okay, they become kind of a reinforced film. Okay. So I don't know if you have gone through all your waterproofing or water shed in the monsoon, all the slums as well as buildings, they use these plastics, right? So that is one kind of plastic which is a black plastic, which is a film. Okay. but it does not, it tears very easily. Okay. Whereas the blue plastic, it has a rim, it is stitched and it has rings on the periphery. So all your hawkers, they also, with the hawkers also, you get both these kind of plastic. With the blue plastic, has, if you observe more closely, it has a lining, it has a fabric, or it has a weave inside it. So it becomes, it is more stronger, right? So what are the desired fabric characteristics in the short-term structural property? If I look at it, the tensile strength, there is a comparison between polyvinyl chloride and PTFE. What is PTFE? Teflon coated glass fiber. Polytetrafluoroethylene. Okay. So now between the two, your tensile strength of PTFE is more. Okay, almost to 16 tons per meter width. Tensile modulus is also more. Tear strength is better. Directionality is almost equivalent. Okay, so from short-term structural properties, PTFE is much better. Now, considering the long-term structural property, that is where the PVC is slightly better than PTFE. The construction stretch, PVC is a little more stretchable as compared to PTFE. Okay, so that's why if there is an error in the construction, in dimension, in cutting, the PVC can adjust, accommodate those. But PTFE cannot. Whereas dimensional stability, where once the geometry is in place, PVC, because it stretches, it will sag and the dimensional stability will not be there. But PTFE will remain, the geometry will remain stable for a longer duration. So in long-term structural properties also, PTFE works to be much better, but only at the time of construction, the easier construction, wherever you have the error margins coming up, or you are not operating with very fine margins, then PVC comes to rescue. Okay. Non-structural properties mein, durability, again PTFE has 25 years durability as against PVC, which is 15 years. Whereas translucency, PVC is much more translucent as compared to PTFE. So if you want glowing kind of tensile structures, then you will be looking at PVC as compared to PTFE. So, and that is where because most of the tensile structures are used in exhibitions and all, where long-term structural properties are not so much of an issue. That's where PVC scores. But if you are going for a permanent tensile structures, then you will go for PTFE. Now, coming to the joints between the fabric, there are three large kind of categories. The first one is sewn joint, which is like stitching. Okay, strong but thread is susceptible to degradation. They're ideal for PVC but not suitable for PTFE. Okay, heat welded joints, like literally welding like one rubber to the other. When it uses the same kind of mechanism when you go for repairing your car tires. So it is heat welded. That rubber thing is the solution is applied and then heat is applied. So that heat welding can be done by jet of hot air or radio frequency electromagnetic radiations. It is suitable both for PVC as well as PTFE. And the third one is mechanical joints. This will come to wherever it is required that both the sewn and heat welded joints are kind of permanent joints. They are done in workshops. But when it comes to assembly, just the difference is just like having a welded connection and all. But on the assembly, you need bolted connection. So when you need these on-site kind of connections which need to be flexible, which needs to account for the various stretches and all, you will require mechanical joints, and these joints are required along with about two for actual execution on the site. They use aluminum clamp plates. They use extruded aluminum luff groove strips. So what are they? They are something like this. So there are two examples of these mechanical joints. Observe very closely the membrane A and membrane B. Membrane B goes it goes through the clamp plates, means between the clamp plates, and there is a bolt rope on the other side. It turns the around the bolt rope, and it again comes on this side, and it is firmly kept in place. Similarly, membrane A also loops around the bolt rope. So the bolt rope, together in the combination of aluminum clamp plates, they are responsible for holding these two plates, and the stainless steel bolt is helping in clamping and creating friction between the two so that it does not slip off. Yeah. The second type is aluminum double luff groove strip. Okay, where membrane A is wound around the bolt rope, but it is it is in a it is slid in a luff groove strip. Okay, and just by that combination, you are able to hold the membrane in place. So we looked at the fabric, we looked at the connections. Now we look at the tendon types. Okay, so in the tendons, you have either a high tensile rod, or you have compact strand, with the bigger ones and the smaller ones, or you have these all uniform strands, or you have bundles of strands. Okay, so you have these four various ways in which the tendon types can you can find them, and based on these components, if you look at their properties, the axial stiffness is lowest in the multi-strand version and the highest in high tensile rod. So basically, the high tensile rod for most applications is unsuitable because it is actually stiff, it's flexurally stiff, and but the tensile strength is very high. Okay, but if you are worried about the stiffness, then high tensile rod is not so good. But if you are worried about the tensile strength alone, then your high tensile strength could be used. Okay, and uh, in the reverse, if you are using multiple bundles, then your axial stiffness and frictional stiffness is very low. So it's the structure can be much more flexible, but the tensile strength is low. Okay. Now, how do you make? What is the material used for these tendons? You have stainless steel, you have nitronic 50 steel, you have galvanized steel. They are all available for solid rods as well as spun cables. The diameter ranges from 4 to 35 mm for solid rods, or it can be 3 to 19 mm for spun cables. Right? There are bigger ropes which are not used for tensile structures, but if you look at your Worley ceiling, the cables that are used, they are all part of the tensile structural systems only, but we are not covering them over here. Yeah. So what are the tendon terminations? Okay. Just having tendons is not enough. You need some mechanisms by which you can tighten them. Okay, you need some mechanism by which you can anchor them to the supports, to the foundations, to the mast, to the other components of the structure. So that also is very carefully calibrated. So you have options where there are fixed length tendons, okay, where there is no flexibility. Then there is second type B, which is adjustable length tendons, which the adjustment is on the both sides. Or you have the C type, where there is adjustable tendon as well as there is a pin at the corners. Okay, and there is fourth type, where there is a pin, there is adjustment in the center. So there is a adjustable tendon as well as there is a tensioner. Okay, so you are able to increase the tension in the cord by adjusting that. So you have fixed versus adjustable. You have method of adjustment and tender length and diameter. Okay. So on the right, you see an image where the bottom one, which is connecting to the ground, is a pin you have this tender pin and this tendon. As we go up nearer to the, I don't know if my cursor is visible, but as you go up over here, you see that there are these adjusters, this ones. Okay. Whereas over here, this one is this part of it. Yeah. So all these, tendon terminations are required for you to achieve a very good, stable structural form. It is the process of construction itself. So one of my favorite examples, which was earlier example, of course, nowadays you have a lot more complicated structures, but this is something that this is a combination of timber and tensile structure and steel cable systems. Okay, so you have these masts which are all in timber. Okay, they have the steel joinery connectivity between the foundation as well as your inks. You have the rings at the top. The rings are supported by the mast itself, the timber mast, and the periphery is pulled down by these booms, which are coming out of laminated timber, right? So you have fabric which is used as Vellicrene, one which is used for yacht sails. The joining has been done by radio frequency welding. So each of these fabric, I mean, you don't imagine this to be manufactured straight away in the company, right? So they have to be cut into shapes and they have to be uh, given this shape, right? Masts and booms are made out of laminated timber with oval cross sections, and there are stainless steel spice plates for cable attachments. Yeah. This is the diagram plan of it, how this structure is. Yeah, and this is a section, and there are some images of the details. Yeah, so it is like a coat hanger which is giving that shape, which is holding that thing, and this that coat hanger again is pulled up by this cord. And if you look at the all the cords, how they are connected, you'll realize that each one is supporting the other. It is nothing is supported by gravity alone. You snap one cord, the entire structure will collapse. Yeah, that's the beauty of tensile structures. Yeah, these are list of useful websites. You can look up birdair.com, Decon USA, and Membranes24. Membranes24.com allows you to, at least at that time, I have not tried it now, but Membrane24.com allows you to upload your own kind of geometries, and they'll give you shapes and cutouts for those geometries also. Yeah. So that is it for. Oh, that was fast.
Thanks, Vikram. Nice.
Hi, Jimmy.
I think the application of tensile structures. I do not know if invariably, whether you like it or not, numerous students land up unknowingly applying them in their thesis projects. For the very basic understanding is that usually guides tell their students that you need to make structures here that are not so permanent. You need to make structures here that are in transition on inherited sites and as non-permanent additions, reversible additions. Tensile structures usually tend to be very appropriate, and so you may not want to have a tensile building in your project, but circumstances may actually lead you to applying them. And tensile structures bring with them a very different take. They are lightweight, they are white, so they come with, they create their own ambience, They have their own language. They have a distinct identity. They can be subtle and they can be very loud. It all depends upon. So I do not know how much attention did you pay to this detailed lecture that Vikram did deliver, but you never know. You should you not have as part of your agenda to make tensile structures, but invariably I have seen numerous students at various pavilions, various walkways that need to be covered temporarily, and tensile is a good take on that. Yeah. So I just hope that you've been able to register all aspects of both its design, its details, design, especially with the kind of soap bubble models that usually go in form making, that is there, details and but naturally the material, the knowledge on its material, I think are very appropriate examples. I think on your own you can go ahead and look at numerous examples that are that talk of various scales that it can be applied to. Yeah, thank you. Any queries or comments?
Any responses? Liked it? You want some other kind of something you have come across? You want some other explanation? No?
No, like till now the kind of tensor structures which we have studied, like till fourth year also we had studied some of the, like we had known some of the examples, but like how it's actually working, as you have shown the details of like how the like the locking system or the anchoring system. So like we had known about it like at like surface level, but right now we had got idea actually what is the actual technology behind that. So that was the, I think, the main part of this.
Anyone else?
Where were the initial diagrams that you showed from? The membrane structure diagrams and all that at the beginning of the presentation.
I think there was this book called Soft Canopies or something. I don't recollect now. I'll have to look up. It's an old thing, and unfortunately, I have not put the references also. It was taken in the library only. It's one of the library books. But I think these diagrams are, generic diagrams. You will find them on the internet also. It's nothing special about it.
Yeah, but I thought if it was like a special book for it, it might have more things in it also.
There are books in the library. There is in our library. I don't know, but when I was a student, I used to always refer to Soft Canopies करके एक book था. So that was a nice book on tensile structures. In our library, we have 2 more books which are dedicated to tensile structures. I'm forgetting the name. I'll try to get tomorrow when I go to the college. I'll try to get the names of it. But do you have access to college books, or are you coming to college?
Yeah, like we can. We have to take
Okay.
the appointment. Like,
ठीक है. So tomorrow I'll just run through that.
It has become such a weird question. Are you coming to college? We are asking students, are you coming to college? क्या दिन आ गए? Are you coming to college? जब कॉलेज आते थे तो जब कॉलेज नहीं आते थे तो पूछते थे कॉलेज नहीं आ रहे हो, अभी पूछ रहे कि कॉलेज, यू आर गोइंग टू कॉलेज। क्या दिन आ गए। दे डोंट वांट टू टॉक तो क्या है, हमें तो बात करना ही पड़ेगा ना विक्रम, क्या करें। They don't want to talk. Yadavendra is the only one who talks. Otherwise,
Purva
this
is
class is at times completely mum.
no, they are
Mum.
talking. They'll take some time. Let's see.
Yeah, how many weeks there? As if they are, as if we are unknown people. That they take time. Perhaps I talk to strangers more frequently. The amount of time they are taking. So let them keep taking time. I believe dead people don't talk.
Anyway, they are mentally they must be somewhere else.
Switched off.
Switched off. I'm searching for something. Just give me a second.
Yes. Any other comment? Do you think we've covered 3 topics? Huh? I must tell you, we have covered 4 important topics. This is just to recap: portals, rigid frame, portal rigid frame, the idea of the folded plate and shell, both under the head of lightweight roofing systems, and tensile today. Yeah. Also, you can imagine we've covered 4 out of 6 topics. 4 out of 6 topics. Yeah. So it's not that it's that we are moving at we are on schedule, and I just hope your involvement is there, because no sooner than later, somewhere or the other, its application is due. Yeah. Its application is going to be due somewhere. Yeah.
Anyone?
Hi. Actually, I'm for my thesis. I'm studying Pandharpur and Pandharpur Wari, which is a pilgrimage that takes from Pune to Pandharpur in some sense, and that also in some way talks a lot about these large temporal infrastructure that comes up of these huge tents
Hmm.
that come up along the pilgrimage route to sort of these tensile structures coming up that then host these visiting pilgrims, and then that comes down and then moves to the next town again.
Right.
So yeah, just an observation. Even in the Kumbh Mela, such similar uh, architecture is seen.
Very relevant. Very relevant. I have done. I think Vikram has worked extensively on Pandharpur projects. I work with master students on Pandharpur projects, and varied kind of infrastructure for its workers to stay outside the city and provide basic infrastructure, because at times that is a bigger problem than the yatra itself. Yeah, very relevant. So semi-temporal and tent-like and modular and things that can fold and fall into place, or can get transported to other sites. A kind of infrastructure that works, a kind of investment that works in, and we are all the time having all kinds of festivities and yatras and things like that. Today also with there is a news of UP's yatra and the Supreme Court intervening. We are all the time. Just imagine you create an infrastructure and that is a big hit. Yeah, like you rightly said, the Kumbh. Yeah, we have had Kumbh projects where students have worked with tensile systems and structures with the various kind of infrastructure that falls in place. And the material is very tough. The material is very tough. Instead, few years back, we did conduct a workshop in our premises with the Ferrari fabric. We just made one bay and students could actually walk over it. It's stretched to such stiffness that we had, if I'm not mistaken, Vikram, it was Khyati Kansara who was doing that balancing act on the top of the tensile. Yeah. Today she posts photographs somewhere out in the blue. But I clearly remember that she was the shortest in the class. and decided to walk all across the
This was,
yeah.
I think it was a batch before yours, which did this.
No, not
No,
this one.
this our batch only.
It's our
Your batch.
Just
हाँ.
yeah.
तो ये फॉर्म मेकिंग एक्सरसाइज तुम लोग ने ऑलरेडी किया हुआ है, where you
Yeah.
have tried to understand this, how the this, but how to manifest it into the architecture is something that you need to look at. Even modeling में there are, I'm trying to locate this exercise, soap bubble exercise, which I'm not able to see over.
Yeah, we had a workshop of Freodo by Mangesh, and that we had created like 1:5 installation of that.
Yeah. So anyway, I'll just try to put together all those things so that it's all in one place.
Perhaps if you have a folder called Tectonic Pedagogy, in that you may have some photographs, because I had sent those photographs, tensile workshop photographs. You have some folder called Tectonic Pedagogy, Technology Pedagogy. I have a folder usme hai, but I'm joined from the phone, not from the laptop. I'm actually traveling.
This is it. No, not this one. I'll just keep it updated. Okay. Anything else? Otherwise, by 5 o'clock, if you can upload your all your files, and so that the faculty can see it, verify everything is in order, and we are set for tomorrow's driver. Everybody is prepared, I hope.
What would the timing of the Vivas be?
Sorry?
What would the timing of the Vivas be?
Onwards. So we expect the jurors to report at a little earlier, 5 minutes earlier or something. We'll brief them for 10 minutes or something. But you need to.
Are you aware which panel you also have the list come to you all?
Yeah, we have received them.
Yeah.
Receive the panel list now. The folders have opened in Google Drive. Whatever you intend to present, please make sure you dump in the folders, because at times people are not able to present, and if the material is there in the folder, either one of us can help present, and that saves the day. Okay, so I would request you all that whatever you intend to put up tomorrow, either as a PPT or whatever that is there, I think preferably it should be like a PPT. Right,
Yeah.
the kind of work you do and the certificates that are there, I would request you to put it in your folders on Google Drive that Lakshmikant has shared with you all. In case you are unable to join, or in case there is bad connection, or you're joining via phone, or whatever it is raining terribly these days. Today it is at least raining terribly in Bombay. Yeah, so should the folder be there with the data in it, someone of us can share it. So I'd advise the entire class to please share your work in the folder, and please join at least 5 to 10 minutes before the jury starts, such that we can record the people who are giving the jury and stuff like that.
Yeah, so at 9 o'clock sharp, we will have the attendance downloaded.
Vikram, you need to ask Lakshmikant to put on the core group the panels, the student, because we were not aware whose student is in which panel. Okay. I did send him a message because he has made the links and shared the link. The students should check. The links have now come to you as the lecture was going on. He has shared the links. Please check your Gmail email accounts to see where they have received the link. If till now you have not received the link, that means there is something wrong. And please join from the email account in which the link has been sent. Don't join from some fancy Gmail account and then you are not able to connect and then you and cry. I think now these things are now set in after 2 years of this pandemic. So whichever Gmail account you have registered with the college, you please see that you join from that. Don't join from mummy, daddy, brother, sister's computer. Then you find difficulty of not being able to join in. But most important of all, while this lecture was going around, please check whether you've received the links. I think more or less he sent all the links to all the groups that is there.
Yeah, like we had got the link and the panel number, and there are panel faculties, like not specified, but in the emails there are the faculty.
I should also let you know. That the jury members who are coming tomorrow are jury members as good as of the caliber of thesis jury members. Very, very senior people, as good as principals of all colleges. PPY was usually taken by very senior people. They are going to talk things out of the blue also. Also, they are going to ask questions that may be related to work, office, whatever that is there. You please be careful because you are dealing with very senior people on board. Yeah, this is my just general. Just what students talk very respectfully in jury. Not that I know that you all talk casually. You don't call like you call me and Vikram by our first names. You do call them as sirs. But you should know. You wouldn't know who these people are. These people are as good as most of them are principals of other colleges or very senior people with as good as 15-20 year experiences who are brought on board. So you just need to know that, not that there is anything with difficulty. They'll be what naturally with experience, more people are convenient in talking. So they'll talk and they'll talk about projects and ethics and how this online, they'll talk everything under the blue. But just be careful that no point you be disrespectful, considering these are very senior people around. Yeah. Vikram, you like to say something?
No, just that the theory, whatever has been covered in terms of arbitration and all that, those were not necessary that people will ask, but you should just have it at the back of your mind. I hope you have done your study, but largely the focus will be on what you have done in your PP and what experience you have gained out of that. Yeah. So please be very alert and fresh. That is very important. Your presence of mind is more important than what work you have already done. Okay, for a jury like this. Okay, and as long as your basic kind of deliverables are in place, rest everything is dependent on how well you are able to communicate with the jury members. Yeah, nothing to worry about, but just be at your best. Best of luck.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All the best for tomorrow. Okay, bye-bye. Bye. Thanks.
Thank you.
I am
Thank you.
around if there is any, Yadvendra, you can just, if there are some students, please connect and if there are difficulty in uploading or anything. So either connect with the faculty which has been assigned to you, or if that is not happening, then connect with me. I'm there available. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I will
Best
let you
of
know.
Yeah. But by 5 o'clock, just try to put up all your papers so that we can ask the faculty to just run through it, and or at least one of us can run through it and check whether everything is in order. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Bye.
This is very important. Please take it seriously. Use the next 2 hours to upload your work in your folders such that the internal faculty can review whether the folders are filled. If not, they'll call you and they'll start pestering you. If you don't want phone calls, make sure your folders are filled. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye, Vikram.
Okay. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank